All right. So if the topic of this conversation is celebrations versus criticisms, yumming over the yucking. Mine is the power of reflecting back to somebody how awesome you think they are. It is such a powerful thing to share with someone how beautiful you think they are, how awesome you think they are. A loving reflection to somebody can change someone's life. It's such a beautiful way to celebrate people. Like Halcyon, you have come up to me on multiple occasions through our many, many years of friendship, and you're like, Betsy, you're awesome. And I love that. It is such a gift, it's such a simple thing that you can just fan someone's flames, remind them how awesome they are. We all need to be seen. It feels really good to be seen. It's also can be a very powerful practice to receive. When someone gives you a compliment like that, it can be a little, oh God, can I receive that? It's a good practice to breathe and receive and just say thank you. You're awesome. Welcome to Stay Sparked. On this show, we explore how to stay inspired in the modern world through the most profound lessons from Burning Man, relationships, entrepreneurship, psychedelics, spirituality, travel, and more.
Welcome to Stay Sparked. We are three longtime friends who have been getting together, inspiring each other for over a decade, and we are here to share these conversations that are aimed to inspire and light you up. Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate knowing that we are connecting with you and that you are spreading the sparks. If you do like these, please leave a review and a 5 stars on Apple Podcast. Like this beautiful review from Kira. I love that I get to learn and be inspired by these powerful people who have clearly spent a lot of time and energy cultivating themselves to show up in the world as their best selves. By listening in on their conversations, good laughs, good ideas, beautiful inspiration. Thank you for raising the bar. Thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you, Kyra.
I'm Halcyon.
And I'm Betsy.
And I'm Janus.
I am the host of the Hug Nation YouTube channel and the daily gratitude circles in Zoom.
And I am a holistic healing arts practitioner and I'm the founder of the Power Affirmation Project, teaching life skills for sustainable happiness.
And I am the founder and CEO of a nutritional supplement company called NuWorld Nutritionals. I'm a newly appointed love ambassador and soon to be a dad, first-time dad. So lots of good things happening in the world these days.
Yay! Well, that love ambassador, Janus just held up a sticker that says love ambassador that was gifted by me. So I feel like I've deputized you. And if you can hear our voice right now, you too are deputized. You are a love ambassador. Thank you on behalf of all of us. And we like to start these broadcasts with some gratitude. So I'll start. I am feeling so grateful for a mini vacation I had to Stinson Beach in the Bay Area, and specifically a drip sandcastle I created. And I don't mean to brag, but it was fantastic. I had so much fun making the castle and just getting into nature and getting dirty and putting feathers that I found on the beach and kelp. And then as soon as it was perfect, the tide came in and washed it away. And it just felt so creative and transitory and awesome. So grateful for sandcastles.
You watched it wash away? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Impermanence.
Exactly. How about you, Betsy?
Well, I'm grateful for something I got to do this weekend that was new. I got to go air gliding, which was amazing. It's basically a non-motorized plane that is attached to another plane, and the bigger plane with the motor tugs you up, attached to a rope. And then once you get to a certain elevation, then they cut the rope and then you just glide and then you just like hit the jet streams. And it was so exhilarating and so fun. And I'm feeling really grateful to have a new experience like air gliding.
Damn.
Very cool.
Superhero.
It was awesome.
No, Betsy's always doing the things. That's great.
It was fun.
Nice. Fun. So my gratitude for today is, honestly, it's a bit of an easy one, but It's just my community of friends and chosen family. We got to get together for a friend's birthday over the weekend. And it kind of, these get-togethers happen somewhat frequently, but it kind of feels like it's been a while since I've been in that kind of gathering. And it's just so juicy from the moment I walk in. For the moment I walk into a place where there's maybe 30 people and I know pretty much everybody there, and the ones that I don't know, I meet and they're awesome. They're just great people. It's just a collection of great individuals. And I come out of there just feeling super juiced up later. And so my community of friends and chosen family is always a fun gathering. And I got to do that this weekend. So feeling just feeling juiced up and ready to take on the world.
Batteries are charged.
Yeah. Batteries are fully charged.
Yeah. Well, and I think I love that. And I love that. I think that's a good, just all of this gratitude awareness is a good segue into what we want to talk about today, which is the significance and the importance of focusing on celebrating things as opposed to criticizing things. And I think that's, as you mentioned, that gathering, that came up in a number of conversations about the impact it has on yourself when you're around people that are supporting and celebrating the ideas that you have, or the thoughts that you have, or the impulses and the creativity, as opposed to, I think, the default world where it's a little bit harder to get people to stretch out of that tendency to knock down and criticize. Have you guys ever had like an idea that has been criticized that just kind of like it's made you stumble or maybe even let go of a cool idea?
Yes, absolutely. It's hard. It's kind of like, taking the wind out of your sails. I love spending time with people that are celebratory of my ideas. And I had a direct experience with the opposite. I had a vision to start an event. I got really excited about putting together an event that I wanted to provide a stage for my friends to be able to share talks. And I had the idea. I called it the Community Speaker Series. And I was like, I really want to do this and put this together for our community. And I shared it with someone close to me. And he totally poo-pooed the idea. He was like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know. That doesn't sound that fun. And that seems like a lot of work. And you're probably not going to really make any money. And I mean, do you actually think people are going to come?" And I was like, ow, ow. And in that moment, I was like, I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure I don't want to hang out with you anymore. And then I actually did. I started to distance myself from that person, and I followed the inspiration to create that event, and I ended up doing it for 3 years, and it was amazing. And people came, and we had an impact. Yeah. So I'm so glad I didn't let his judgment really take me down a rabbit hole of my own doubt and paralyzing that idea.
Yeah, well, and this kind of story can kind of branch us off into two different directions. It's the power of, let's say, overcoming that sort of negative kind of feedback, and the power of maybe just do the thing. I mean, do the thing anyway. So I mean, just with starting my business, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made as far as like the way the website looks, the way the logo looks, the name of the business, the design of the labels, all this other stuff. And I got feedback pretty early on. They're like, okay, nobody knows anything. So if you're going to ask for people's opinion, what do you think about this logo? What do you think about this idea? You are going to get positive and negative feedback. So what are you going to do with that? Just do your thing, and whoever resonates with that will resonate with that. So maybe a little less seeking of other people's opinions and more just stick to you have this idea, this inspiration for a reason. So, follow that. But then also we do want some feedback. We do want to and a lot of times, we're excited about stuff. So we want to share that excitement with like our friends or our coworkers or family, whatever. So when somebody shares their stuff with us, for me, it feels good to I don't want to be a dream squasher. Like I'm not here to squash people's dreams. So, which could be a challenge when somebody comes up with an idea or what do you think about this? That really sounds like, wow, I don't know about that. Instead of being like, I don't know about that. I'm like, okay, so what's exciting you to do that? Where's the inspiration from for that? What's the juice behind it? And that instead of me being, even if I'm kind of like, I don't know about that, there's always a way to frame something. So, and I think Halcyon's really good at this, as far as there's a way to touch on the thing that you want to touch on without it being a negative Nancy about it. So it's just, so doing that sort of that work and getting that perspective is important for us and our friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also important to understand what kind of feedback is someone looking for. Are they looking for feedback? Are they looking for support? And I think people too quickly often go to feedback and criticism and concern, and people project their own fears onto something. So I'm really aware, if somebody says, hey, I've got this business idea, do you think it will make money? Okay, that's a very clear question. Then I can say, okay, from my understanding of the markets and from what I understand about the need for what you're talking about, I'm a little concerned that there's a market for what you're talking about. That's a legitimate response. I don't think that's dream squashing. That's someone asking for that opinion. If someone says, hey, check out this idea I have, or I'm going to do this, then the answer in my mind is, fuck yeah, dude, right on. You should do it. Because how many brilliant, I mean, who am I to know what is going to be successful in the world? Who am I to know what success is? I saw this thing that Mark Manson, he wrote a thing that everybody who's following these videos about what billionaires do every morning, like, you are never going to follow what they do and become a billionaire, because what every billionaire has done to become incredibly wealthy is follow a dream that everyone else said was stupid. You have to do something that everyone else says that's crazy, it's not going to work. And so who am I to discourage somebody if they believe in something?
Yep. That's so powerful. Yes, I love that so much, because really it is an important thing to follow our own passions and our own inspirations, and to surround ourselves with people that are willing to celebrate and support, and also to be able to reflect back that celebration and support. I personally feel is an art form, and we did an episode a while ago called Holding Space for Friends. There's some crossover there in relation to that. Like, how do we communicate with the people in our lives in small and big ways? What we're talking about business ideas, right? But what about other moments where, if someone's going through something, and how do we really bring light and celebrations instead of like going down into the darkness with someone? So one of the things I really like to do is, if somebody is like, I'm really having a hard time with something or uncertain about something, then I'm like, wow, okay, I'm feeling you. Like, I'm going to meet them right where they are. And then they start to open up more. And then there's room for celebrating the growth, and like being able to listen for where the growth is, and then like fan the flames of that. Like, wow, okay, you're getting through this really well. I have a friend who lost 3 really close people in their life in a year. And so it's been really nice to just be there for him and say, oftentimes I'll just be like, hey, you know what? You're doing really great this week. It's really awesome that you've been getting out and taking hikes and doing the things that you love. I really see you. And then I watch him just go, yeah, I am doing really well. And he stands a little bit taller, and I could feel him just like, okay, I feel seen and I am doing good. And it's just that little tiny bit of celebration that can lift someone's spirits and help them believe in themselves. And I know I've experienced that before, when someone reflects back to me something that they see that is, I'm doing good. I'm like, oh, right. Okay. Yes. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and I think it applies to across, like you said, Betsy, kind of across the board with life, whether you're working on a business idea, you're struggling with some sort of challenges or difficulties. What has helped me to apply to myself and other people, when somebody expresses something like, oh, I'm really struggling, it's like, okay, well, and I'm not sure how to go about it, or to go forward, or how to process this. It's like, I'm like, well, there is a way. So let's talk about that. What's the, how could you make this endeavor a success? How can you, deal with, these challenges? I've lost some family members, or my partner and I are not doing well. We're on the verge of breaking up, or we have broken up, and I'm really feeling crappy. It's like, okay, so what is what is possible for you to feel less crappy about that? What could you do on the process to get you to this place that you want to be? Like, first of all, where do you want to be with it? Answer that question. Okay, how do we get there? I don't know how to get there. Okay, if you did, and it sounds odd to just speak it, but I've seen it work and I've done it for myself. It's like, okay, so if you did know, and indulge me, if you did know how to get there, what would be your first step? What's the highest, best version of you? What would that person do? And they're like, oh, they probably, I don't know, maybe start eating better in the morning, or maybe drink less alcohol, whatever, start to just view things in a positive way. And it's a step-by-step process. It doesn't happen all at once.
I love that technique of what would the best version of you do. I do think that before you get into any sort of problem solving with someone, you really need to understand and be clear that they're looking for solutions. So often someone just wants to be heard. And I think that even voicing that, when someone says, like, I'm struggling, say, do you just need to vent about this? Or are you open to some thoughts about your situation? And if they say, I just need some support, like, okay, cool, man, this sounds really hard. And I think that's true in relationships, in friendships. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is jumping to, I'm going to help you by giving you solutions. And we forget that the person who's telling you that they're struggling, their problems they're talking about, they've been thinking about them 24/7 for days and days and days. So for you to go, hey, I got an idea, unless you say it tactfully, you're kind of saying, hey, dumbass, why don't you do this? You're like, I've been trying, or I would if I could. So it really has to be tactfully said, like, are you open to some thoughts? And even just saying that can let someone down and go, okay, and thank you for asking.
Yeah. There's this words that sometimes come through my mouth and I'm like, wow, where is this coming from? And it's, I'm really proud of you. And it's such an interesting thing, because usually that's like what a parent says to a child. But sometimes there's people in my life that I just feel so called to say that. And I've had people say that to me, and I have felt this like, thank you. Especially if it's like something challenging is going, like, I'm really proud of you for showing up in the ways that you have been to your process. I'm really proud of you for taking some steps in a direction towards your growth or your learning or your business endeavors or whatever. Like, way to freaking go. That's amazing. I feel like that's coming back into the conversation around celebrations. And one of the things I really wanted to come back to and spotlight is something you shared in your gratitude around being at a gathering where there's people there that really fuel you. Here you are a few days later and you're feeling really good. And I was thinking about that too, because I was at that same gathering and I was like, wow, I feel my batteries are getting charged. And there's certain gatherings that will do that, and there's certain gatherings that will drain, and it's like, well, what are the ingredients that support that powerful life force energy that charges our batteries? And it does feel like that celebration of each other and seeing each other and being wowed by each other and being like, wow, you're amazing. What are you up to? Oh my gosh, like, I want to hear all of the amazing things that you're up to, or even the challenges that you're going through, and still be there to celebrate and to lift each other up and go like, oh, wow, yes, I feel seen, I feel celebrated, I feel alive, I can be myself. And then we come out of those kind of gatherings feeling ready to just take on the world and take on our creative projects. And it's such a gift. Whereas, I'm sure we've all been in other places where it's like, I think you said it really funny, Halcyon, when people yuck on your yum.
Yeah.
And then you go back into your days and you're like, don't yuck other people's yum, because then, it makes life even more difficult. And we need more joy in the world.
Yeah.
I
think when people there's an interesting phenomenon when people will I loved Barbie. I loved the movie Barbie. And somebody will want to say, that movie sucked. You're like, well, why would you say that? I think I'm really trying to be conscious of when I say that or when I hear that, because when you're saying that sucked, that this music sucks, this Burning Man sucks, this thing's, you're saying, what you're really saying is, I don't like this thing. but what the words you're saying is that no one should like this thing. No one's
generalizing.
yeah. And it's like what kind of world do we live in where you just get to decide and then you get to put energy into making other people's experiences of joy tainting it? It's just it's really, I think it's important to be aware of when we do that for others. And I think that, as people were you were talking about how important it is to celebrate people, I could hear some objection where people say, well, you don't want to just blow smoke up people's ass. You don't want to say things that aren't true. And I would argue that if you are not seeing things to celebrate in the world and in your friends all the time, that's a lot of inner work for you to do, because there's definitely things to celebrate all the time. And if your instinct is the criticism and the negativity, then that's a whole bunch of self-aware work that you can work on.
Yeah. And yeah, to kind of further into that point, there's always something to celebrate about the people that are in your world, so to speak. And a quick side note about the Barbie movie. I did go to see this, and I came out of it. It was like, okay, though that wasn't for me. That movie wasn't. I'm not the target audience of that. This is my initial thought, and so it was okay. I enjoyed it. It's well made, blah blah blah. But the more I thought, but then I found it's one of those films that you see and then you can't really stop thinking about it. And it's like, oh, so that to me is a sign of a good experience. And then I started to see like, no, actually, this movie is very much for me. Is actually very much for like a lot of people. There's a lot to celebrate about this movie. And it was my even though I didn't get that initially, the more I sat with it, the more I realized like, I know this is actually there's something in here that's really good for everybody. So kind of, and I think we can apply that to a lot of things, even if we're not initially like, I don't know about that. So like, oh, I got this community speaker series. I don't know about that. Da, 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 da. Well, okay, how about you pause, sit with that, and be like, oh, maybe how would this appeal to you, instead of being like, just poo poo on something. Okay, how would this appeal to me? And then think about that, and then share that if you feel compelled to share anything. And conversely, there are situations. And I'll just cut to the chase. If so the whole like if you can't say something nice about something, don't say anything at all. And if you recognize that I have a hard time putting myself in a celebratory position around this person, or for whatever. We'll just focus on a person right now. I've had people in my life where that has been the case, and I've been on both ends of that, where like every time I'm around this person has something rah to put in my direction. I am going to remove myself from that person's sphere. I can't help if I run into this person at a gathering or whatever, but I'm just not going to put myself in a position where they get a chance to poo-poo me. And conversely, I have been on the other side of that, where every time I'm around a particular person, for whatever reason, they get my up, and I can't. It's just a challenge for me to see the negative to positive in this person, and to celebrate this person who absolutely deserves to be celebrated for all that they're doing. But for whatever reason, I'm about it. And so, okay, I'm not going to go to therapy over that, but I'm just going to I'm not going to put up myself upon this person. I'm just going to be like, all right, you're awesome. I know that my highest version of myself knows you're awesome. I'm not always my highest version of myself, so I'm going to disabuse you of my side eye and my critique, and I'm gonna celebrate you from over here and not bother you with it. So just kind of recognize
my triggers.
Yeah, I'm gonna disabuse you on my triggers. I'm gonna pull my triggers on you. So recognize that if we're not able to show up in that way for somebody, on the one hand, we can always try to do better, but on the other hand, there's nothing wrong with that. There's always somebody that rubs us the wrong way. So how about we just give them a break and give ourselves a break in the process, and just keep the separation. Got to keep them separated.
I mean, we've got a limited amount of time to be alive and conscious. And so we need to be aware of when we are spending time doing things, being with people that we're not feeling like celebrating. Now, if you want to use that as an opportunity to do work, great. But if you're just suffering or not enjoying things, then go elsewhere. I mean, that's one of the crazy things to me about the internet, is how people will be cruising along, clicking around on this near infinite landscape of ideas and visuals and music and everything, people land on something they don't like and go, okay, all right, let me settle in and write about why I hate this thing or why I hate this person. And sometimes I'll get these long tirades about why someone hates me. And I'm like, I can't understand this. Like, what? Do you know how the internet works? You could have clicked and gone to some place that you liked, and you could have spent those 30 minutes enjoying something. And I think that's like one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this topic is it does take some discipline, because we can kind of get caught in those things, but it is a tragedy to waste so much of your life focusing on the things you don't like when there are so many things for us to like.
Yeah, I think you're speaking to the choice. And for somebody like that you're talking about is like maybe that person doesn't realize that they have a choice, or maybe there's something else that is going on a deeper level that they're really angry about, and they don't really know how to express that anger. And so they're like, I'm just going to direct my hate towards this person I don't really know. And then it's sort of quote unquote safe because he's not going to jump through my computer and try and, and so it can feel like an outlet. And so I'm bringing that in because it feels like, to be compassionate towards the emotional processing that is so limited. We're not really trained how to process emotions. And so the internet can sometimes feel like that it's like a place to just let out some of that projection of anger towards other people. And so it's like, okay, well, we get to choose. Once again, we see that we have the choice on how to respond to it. Do we want to meet that person? Like, you get to go like, okay, well, I'm going to settle in too, and I'm going to duke it out with this person. And you could also just delete the comment and then go work out or go, on a page that brings you joy, so
Right.
it's all a choice,
That's
so
huge.
yeah.
Yeah. And I
Hmm.
think that's huge, because that is really what it's all about. And I think that what you're talking about is that when people are in that mindset where they don't recognize that you do have some choice over your thoughts, and you are going to have thoughts that you don't need to believe, and you are going to have thoughts that are going to lead you into, places that you don't want to go. And when you start to get to a place where you realize that you have choice over those things, that is, I think that's kind of what's so rich about this idea, is that if you are in a place where you're complaining a lot, step back and go, am I choosing this? Am I choosing this? Or am I letting myself be a victim to these thoughts and these negative experiences?
Yeah, and I love that too because I actually was thinking a lot about that. I was spending time with somebody who's complaining a lot, and I was like, I wonder if she knows that she complains a lot. And I'm close friends with her, and so I was able to actually talk to her about it. And she did not realize that she was complaining a lot. So a lot of times that choice is kind of not even available when somebody's so swept up in the complaining portal, we'll call it. And so all the more reason for us to, as love ambassadors, to keep coming back around to the celebrations, to the optimism, to the light, to the reflections, and to be able to stay within our own sense of self and not get swept up into those vortexes of whether it's as Janus calls it, the eh. It's like those crunchy moments. It's like, okay, all right, I see that. And guess what? I'm continuing to choose what I want to focus on and keep coming back to the celebrations of this life and my whatever it might be. And also to know the difference of when to remove yourself from a relationship or conversation, that there isn't any room for that. Because some people do want to just stay in the complaining. Some people really love drama. Some people love, ranting. That's just who they are and what they want to do. And that's like helpful for them. And then we get to go, well, I actually don't want to spend time with somebody like that. I want to start finding more people that want to talk more positively. It's all comes back to choice.
Yeah. And it's super, like you said, just to concur, it's super easy to get caught up in that. And once you recognize that, it's important to have a process to kind of to break the habit of defaulting into that. For me, with my whole process with this internet online, debating or going after each other. There have been well over 100 times where I've read something that I didn't like, and I wrote out a comment, either short or super long, and instead of hitting send, I would just delete it. Because once I found that I wrote it, I was like, I got that out. I told that person off. Even if they don't actually hear it or read it, it's like, I don't need to send it. I don't need to add. I don't need to throw gasoline on an already blazing fire. And I got out what I needed to get out. And now it's out, and I'm good, as opposed to doing it and then finding that it just perpetuates. And I always felt bad afterwards. I'm like, So yeah, so finding a process to let's say get that out of you is great.
And then you can celebrate it.
And then you can celebrate
get it out. Then you're
exactly.
like, oh, woohoo, good job. I didn't send it.
Yeah. And another thing for me is, and this might be a little easier when you are older, but I feel like I've gotten to the point now where I might well not be in the second half of my life, but I'm getting real close to it. And so it's easy for me to project forward, to imagine myself like sitting in a nursing home at the age of 115 and being like, yeah, I wish I'd spent more time like criticizing people, or I wish I'd spent more time arguing on the internet. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be wishing I had spent more time outside, more time loving people up, more time just in positivity. I'm able to easily see that and be like, and so now when I'm in a moment, I'd be like, am I going to look back on this and be like, yeah, I'm glad I did this or whatever. It's like, if not, make a better choice. And then in the moment, and there's always there's always let's see, there's that saying that people will never remember what you said or what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And that really kind of like, that's one that kind of stuck with me. It's like, okay, I want people to feel good in my presence, and I want people to feel empowered, heard, understood, to the best of their ability, and loved. Really, when I want people to feel that when they see me or when I'm around them, that's important to me. That's kind of the legacy I want to leave behind, is that people felt good when I was around. That's one of the best things I think you can do. So there was a guy I ran into who had fallen on some, that I used to know, that I used to work with, who had fallen on some hard times and was now like in the space of recovery. And he was like working at a grocery store that I happened to be at. And I recognized him right off the bat, but our interactions back in the day were so like tinged with negativity that I was just like, as soon as I saw him, I was immediately like, ugh. And that was years later. And I'm sure that he had like processed whatever he had processed and was overcoming and was doing better. Was not the same, and essentially was not the same person. But there was still like this with me, to the point that I didn't want to engage with him. I had this whole like instant like process of like, all right, I recognize that guy. I don't like that guy. Wait, he's probably a different person now. I don't care. I don't want anything to do with it. Da-da-da. And he actually sought me out in the grocery store. I was like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, and I just kind of like pretended like I'm like, oh, I'm good. Like I didn't recognize him. And then he ultimately, like out on the way out, he ran to me again. It was like, do you remember me? And I'm like, yeah. And I don't particularly enjoy what I remember. Don't know what to tell you. And and he just kind of was like, okay. And I'm like, and I didn't feel bad about it. I was like, it's so imprinted on me that that's what's up. I don't even really remember what was said or what was done, but I remembered I didn't like it. I didn't like being in his presence. And that matters. And there's parts of me that's like, I could have maybe handled that a little bit.
He yucked on the yum, and then you yucked on his yuck.
Well, yeah, it's like I yucked on my yum, but that was also a moment of self-preservation. Because I didn't know what this dialogue was going to lead to. It could have easily led into like, I need to tell you off about a few things. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't need to know, frankly. So, but there's a matter of self-care with that. Like I wasn't trying to yuck on his yum. It's like, I'm grocery shopping. I'm not here for this.
Well, I think it's related to what you're saying about with commenting and I think when we want everyone to like us, and we want to make everybody feel good. And so then when you see a comment or you see something on the internet where someone doesn't like you, you write out your 30-minute email of responding to them and explaining yourself and making sure that you defend yourself. But then what you've done is you just hit a volley back in that direction, and you steered your own mind down an avenue that is unpleasant. And so deciding not to engage in that conversation, whether it's online or in a person in a grocery store, is absolutely one of the ways that we practice self-care. And is the person on the other side might be slighted? Possibly, but we have to live our lives in a way where we risk slighting people to protect ourselves at times. Now, ideally, we have peace with everyone, but as a in recovery people pleaser, that doesn't work. So you have to at some point say, I'm okay with a certain amount of people having a story about me for whatever reason, and I'm going to spend my time with people that lift me up and celebrate me and make me down a path of service and goodness and all the good stuff.
Absolutely. And I think that really starts within. It really does. I'm, in this conversation around celebration and criticism, we're talking a lot about the outside and how we interact with other people, but what are we saying to ourselves? I have grown so much since I started doing coaching, receiving coaching, and also offering coaching. Taking some trainings in life coaching, and one of the main ingredients in it is really celebrating the wins. And so to be able to come into a place within myself to learn how to appreciate the growth that I've been in and be consistent with the self cheerleading versus self-criticizing, it's been absolutely transformational. I do weekly calls with my sister, and we get on and we start off by sharing, what are your wins of the week? And then we get to share our wins. So I did this and I did this and I felt really good about this. And then she goes, amazing, that's so awesome. And then she shares with me, and then we get a chance to share where our growth is, instead of looking at the things we didn't do, or kind of, I don't know, sometimes it feels like, I'm not getting far enough along, or I'm not being as productive as I would like to be. And that practice of celebrating the wins totally eradicates that, because I keep coming back to this place of going, oh no, wait, I actually have been really tending to a lot of awesome things. I'm doing pretty freaking good. And then I was doing this practice with another friend, actually, Charlotte, who she is part of Dub Sutra, who is our theme song. Shout out to Dub Sutra. They are just rocking their offerings and getting their music out in the world, and we get to celebrate each other's wins and celebrate the growth. And one of the things that she has shared with me is that there's been, some people in her life that don't do that. It's like, she's a musician, they're musicians. And there's some people that have stories that, oh, you can't make any money as a musician. And it's like, she just gets to spend time with people that are going to fan her flames. And I love getting to be that with her and for her, and then watch her grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And it comes back to that choice. Who do I spend time with to help me just celebrate these wins? And we just get to watch each other light up in that, okay, yes, okay, you're doing amazing. It's like, yes, I am. Okay. And then also that piece around shifting this idea around it's self-centered or egoic, to be celebrating our growth and how awesome we are. This old idea of oh no, you shouldn't talk about how awesome you are, because that's just, that's your ego, and, it's very vain. And it's like, well, if it's in a container where we're here cultivating self-love, and it's a conversation that is actually in support of our upliftment, it's a very different experience, and it can be very empowering. And at this stage where we are in human evolution, we need more people to feel good about themselves, to feel empowered in who we are, so that way we can keep growing and keep learning and keep rising up and bring more light and joy on this planet. And it starts within.
Testify.
Boom.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, the inner and the outer.
I love that, a practice of celebrating yourself and others is I think so helpful. I mean, gratitude practice has been my way of doing that. And, I will invite everyone again to join me 3 times a day. I'm doing gratitude practices in a group setting. And it really is, if you are ever in a place where you are noticing, whether you are conscious of it or not, that you are choosing to find negativity and criticism in more things than you would like to, gratitude is the way that you start training your brain, and you start reframing things, and you start seeing that, last night we had a big storm and there was a leak in my roof that I now have to deal with all sorts of stuff with this potential water damage. And it wasn't so bad. And I'm grateful that I was able to sleep through the night and my bed's not wet and I have a home to sleep in and I have the resources to figure out how I'm going to fix this problem. And it's super easy to spin out on the negative story, but because I practice gratitude all the time, it's super easy for me to recognize the negative thing. I'm not denying it. I'm not pretending it's not there. I'm seeing it and recognizing all the good that's around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a like a men's daily kind of check-in thing that was an online thing that they send you emails and such, and I forget what it was, but it was actually pretty good. But it was so manly, and it was so like still kind of like maybe a little bit confrontational and in your face about stuff. But for me, that kind of thing kind of works. It's almost like a sports coach, kind of like, like, come on, he's killing you. You suck. Get in there. Da, 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 da. And you're like, oh, like, it's like some, for me, sometimes that actually works. I think that works for like a lot of athletes. So a lot of people do respond to that. And I got into a conversation, just slight divergence, but this conversation, we were talking about like what kind of light work you're doing and da, 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 and where you're reaching people. And like, sometimes, and I'm a firm believer, like sometimes people need a foot in their ass in order to like kind of like
baseball bat across their head.
Yeah, just kind of get there. You just kind of get for a perspective shift. And a friend of ours, Kyle Shinners, we would talk about putting a crystal on the tip of our boot, just kick people in the butt with a crystal. Be like, okay, we'll get your
my light work.
Get your, that's my light work. Yeah. So, but part of this thing, I remember something that did resonate with me is like, okay, so you got something to complain about today. All right, fine. Always remember, some people have real problems. Like some people, like, okay, my roof's got a leak in it. Okay, somebody lost their pet today. Somebody lost their child today. Somebody got a bad medical diagnosis today. And there are thousands of people in the world who have it worse than you today. I don't care what you're going through. There's always lots of people out there who are having a far worse day than you. So check yourself. Be like, okay, so you got something to deal with. Then deal with it. Suck it up, deal with it, and realize it could always be worse. This isn't so bad. I can deal with that. And actually, that kind of resonated with me. That kind of stuck with me. So no matter what is going on in my day, like I'm stuck on the side of the road, I got a flat tire. Oh my God, I got a flat tire. Deal with it and move on. There's some people that they totaled their car today. So just, there's always levels to this.
You have a car? Damn.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have a car.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Walk.
So that's kind of the foot in the butt kind of like perspective that works for me sometimes. And I think that can work for a lot of people. So yeah, some people have real problems. So, which does not diminish the what we're going through, which is, it's like some people, that's problems are real to me. It's a real problem. I got to deal with this flat tire on the road. I got I got a leak in my roof. That sucks, but I'll deal with it. And
come back to the celebration of what we have. Yeah,
exactly. Gratitude. And Halcyon does and we may have talked about this before, but you're doing like regular, weekly, daily gratitudes. And it's super hippie to say it, but the more gratitude you express, the more you have to be grateful for. It's like I've seen way too many instances of this for it to be so easily dismissed and just, oh, that's some hippie woo-woo stuff. Like, no, it's real. That actually works. So
who says that's hippie woo-woo stuff?
It's
whatever.
I even heard that over the weekend from somebody we were gathered with, and it's just like, okay, all right, that's.
Allow me to show some criticism. I'm going to be critical of that person. They'll full circle.
Ooh. All right. Okay.
Well, you guys up for some closing sparks?
Yeah. I got one. All right. So if the topic of this conversation is celebrations versus criticisms, yumming over the yucking. Mine is the power of reflecting back to somebody how awesome you think they are. It is such a powerful thing to share with someone how beautiful you think they are, how awesome you think they are. A loving reflection to somebody can change someone's life It's such a beautiful way to celebrate people. Like Halcyon, you have come up to me on multiple occasions through our many, many years of friendship, and you're like, Betsy, you're awesome. And I love that. It is such a gift. It's such a simple thing that you can just fan someone's flames, remind them how awesome they are. We all need to be seen. It feels really good to be seen. It's also can be a very powerful practice to receive. When someone gives you a compliment like that, it can be a little, oh God, can I receive that? It's a good practice to breathe and receive and just say thank you. You're awesome. You guys are awesome.
Oh,
thank you, Betsy, and so are you, Betsy. Yeah, yeah, and to kind of piggyback onto that, it's important to receive that process, and it's super easy to kind of deflect when somebody is like, I think we're kind of wired to, when we receive a compliment, we are wired to immediately give them a compliment, because that's true. It's like, how about we just receive that and say thank you. That works. That works that definitely helps to receive. And if we find ourselves in a place where, God, I could use some juice, I can use some celebration, but I don't really know how to ask for that. I don't really know how to bring that into my life. There's something to be said for just asking for what you want. So like you can reach out to a friend, and they can bring that, and you can kind of set up a mutual appreciation society, for a lunch, for example. What works for me is, again, all these little hoary sayings that sound like they're just like, whatever. But it's one of those things like, be the change that you want to see in the world. If you show up for people in that way, you are going to find that coming back your way very quickly. So it's like, God, I feel like I could use some propping up, just in general, or today, or whatever. Reach out to somebody and be like, hey, I just want to celebrate you real quick. And just be that change. And you're going to find that you might get that, because again, people are wired to be like, well, you're doing awesome too. So that's a good way to bring that in. But just to show up for people, just to show up in the world the way you want the world to show up for you. And it's as above, so below, all that other stuff. So be that thing you're looking for.
So huge. And sometimes when I'm helping people find a place of purpose in their lives, and they go, what am I supposed to, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. I'm like, well, I'll tell you the quickest way to find purpose. Support anyone who is being courageous. Support anyone who is being authentic. You do that, you are leading a purposeful life. Because as you support other people who are trying to be their true selves, they're reaching, stretching, they are going to find their true gifts. They are going to change the world. And we need to be supportive of one another so that we can find that strength in ourselves. So I do want to have one closing spark of one of the tools that I use the most in this, when I find myself getting caught in complaining versus celebrating, is crap or cone. It's this idea that at every moment in your life, you are holding an ice cream cone in one hand and you've got one foot in dog shit. That always in your life, always, as we've talked about today, there is plenty of things to celebrate. You've got wonderful things. You've got laughing babies. You've got great friends. You've got sunsets. And you also have work that has to be done, aches and pains and all your struggles. And the degree in which you enjoy your life is where you place that focus. And it doesn't mean that you pretend that there's no shit on your shoe. It means that you don't set down your ice cream cone and focus so much on your shitty shoe that you start telling them, oh my God, you have to smell this. Oh, look at this. Oh my gosh. And if you are noticing in your life that you are saying, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, there's a good chance that you put down your ice cream cone and just ask yourself, wait, where's the cone? There's got to be a cone. Where's the cone? And if you just keep asking yourself that, you can start to shift your balance to a celebrator, and pretty soon you got yum, 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 ice cream everywhere.
Yeah. No need to set the cone down, people. You can clean your shoe off with one hand.
I'm choosing the yum over the yuck.
Yeah.
Yum, 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 yum,
yum, yum, yum.
Give me some more ice cream.
Can we? Could you give us a affirmation to close us out, Betsy?
Oh, yes, I would be happy to. So, as many of you out there know, or maybe that you don't, I am an affirmation enthusiast. I find affirmations are a very powerful way to focus our thoughts and to really bring into our minds what we want to focus on. This is what we're talking about, right? Where we put our focus is what expands in our lives. So, if you like, you can close your eyes and take a deep breath. We'll use a very simple affirmation is I choose where I put my focus today. I choose where I put my focus today. I choose where I put my focus today, and I choose to celebrate the good things happening. I choose to celebrate the good things happening. I choose to celebrate the good things happening in my life and the people around me's life and the world. I choose to celebrate life in all of the ways today and every day. And so it is. Thank you.
So it is. Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. And we are love ambassadors and we have offerings for y'all. So love to just share a little spark. So come find us because we want to be here to support you guys out there in the ways that we do. We all have our own little ways. So find me on poweraffirmation.com where you can find more of my offerings with the body work, healing work, intuitive coaching, the Power Affirmation Journal and groups and more affirmations.
Thank you, Betsy. You can find me at johnstin.com, JOHNSTYN, where there are links to those gratitude circles I talked about, as well as ways to get a t-shirt that says Love Ambassador.
Woo!
Nice. And I have my company online called NuWorld Nutritionals. That's spelled NuWorldNutritionals.com. We make mushroom-based products designed to improve your state of mind, alleviate symptoms of anxiety, depression, PTSD, all sorts of anything. It's like my girlfriend calls it a spa day for your brain. So it definitely can get you inspired. And I actually had a conversation with a good friend of ours who runs, we celebrated his birthday over the weekend, and he's got a creative artistic business endeavor that has really taken off. And he cited the product my company makes specifically with helping him stay focused, getting his mind right in order to help build this business and build this endeavor into what it has become, which is starting to really boom. And so he's so in the idea of like celebrating each other and our endeavors, he made a point to pull me aside and be like, hey, just so you know, like I've been taking your product for months now, and I think it's definitely helped me get to where I want to be with this endeavor. So thank you very much for that. I was like, awesome. That's great.
Right on.
So getting good feedback.
Amazing. You're awesome, Janus. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. My cat seems to think so too.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. So, yeah, cool. Well, thanks, guys.
Love you guys. Stay
Love
smart,
you.
people.